I squeeze her tight. Oh, we're kissing cousins, and that's what makes it all right, all right, all right, all right. Yeah, we're all cousins. That's what I believe. Hello, Cynthia Pepper. Very good to meet you here.
Thank you so much.
And is that your first time in Denmark?
First time in Denmark. I love it. Everyone's so nice. I always say that Elvis fans are the best.
Did you expect to find Elvis's home here in Randers, Denmark?
I knew about it, but it's wonderful. It really is a good replica. It really is. It's I like the three tiers, where you can eat, and you can have a party, and the museum is wonderful. It really is.
Have you ever seen the real house in Memphis?
Graceland?
At Graceland.
Oh yes, I've been there a number of times. I've never been to Tupelo though. Someday I'd like to go to Tupelo and see, where he lived as a child. The shotgun house, I think it's called.
Yeah, and the reason they call it that, you know that?
I think if they saw I'm not sure how. What is it?
They call it a shotgun house because if you were standing in the first door with a shotgun and you fired it, you'd be blown right out of the back door.
Is that
it's because it's not bigger than that.
Yeah, it's just one. It just goes like a hallway almost.
Yeah,
it goes straight
it's
through.
almost like that.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Where he came from.
Yeah.
I think his heart was still there though. He was still a country boy at heart.
Yeah, because you played with Elvis in Kissin Cousins.
Kissin Cousins.
And was that your first meeting with Elvis?
First meeting with him, I was a big fan. I grew up in Hollywood, California. I was born there and raised. And I was just like another typical teenager in the 50s. I think it was Heartbreak Hotel was the first song I heard him do. And I was, oh, Elvis! I was swooning just like the rest of the girls. Never expecting a few years later to work with him and get to know him and be a friend. It was just amazing. I always say I picked the right career in my life.
What are you doing with my face? That's all right. Good question, friend. Josh Morgan, Hidden Rock, North Carolina.
Then you's kinfolk.
Practically kissing cousins.
Kissin Cousins, kissin's allowed, 'cause we're proud to be cousins.
It's the merriest mountain feudin' you've ever seen. And Elvis takes both sides.
I'm just a smoky mountain boy, coming back to the hills I love.
Elvis and Elvis, Kissin Cousins by the dozens. As Josh, the snappy Missile Corps lieutenant, coming home to the Smokies, and to those kitty hawks, the curviest covey of backwoods babes you've ever seen. Pity a poor soldier boy on a day like this. They're no match for those love-hungry mountain gals.
You gotta let me and my men go.
Who wants to be liberated, Lieutenant?
And this is Jody, a rockin', rollin' hill boy who's wacky over a whack. And this is Home Sweet Home, up in them thar mountains. At supper time, you better be quick or go hungry.
Tain't nothing but possum tails, owl gizzards, and grits, with vulture eggs and mashed catfish eyes.
The catfish eyes brings out the flavor of the possum tails.
Hezekiah guards the still, and Ma makes the moonshine. Pa used to play jug in a hootenanny band, but lately, when the jug's empty, it's empty, doggone it. You've never seen such goings-on. They're a feuding and a fighting, falling in love, falling in the water, dancing, prancing, and romancing, a swinging and a singing.
I may be new to you, but I'm catching on fast. I want a barefoot ballad, yes, a barefoot ballad. Won't you play for me a down-home country song? 'Cause when I kick my shoes off and I kick my blues off, with a barefoot ballad, you just can't go wrong. We'll kiss all night. I'll squeeze her tight, and we'll be kissing cousins, and that'll make it all right, all right, all right, all right. We'll be kissing cousins, that'll make it all right, all right, all right, all right. Had you always wanted to become an actress?
Yeah, my family they were in show business. My dad was in vaudeville and went overseas with Bob Hope and entertained the troops, and my mother was a dancer in New York, and so it was all I knew. I have no other skills. That's it. I made a living doing it. It was just I never had any thought of doing anything else.
How was it to grow up with Ginger Rogers as your stepmother?
Well, she wasn't my stepmother. He was married to her. She was 17. She was a Charleston champion in Texas, and my dad was quite a big star at the time. And I have two letters written to my aunt in Milwaukee from Ginger saying, "We're off to Hollywood. I hope I make it big in Hollywood," and that kind of thing. And we know what happened with her. I met her years later at 20th Century Fox. I was doing a pilot for my TV series, and she was doing a pilot, which is a show to see if it's going to sell. And we were in the wardrobe department, and I thought, well, this is my chance to meet her. And so, you know, when you meet someone and you're excited, sometimes you say foolish things. Well, this was one of them. I went up to her and I said, "Miss Rogers?" And she says, "Yes." I said, "My name is Cynthia Pepper. I believe you know my father." Well, of course she knew my father. She was married to him. And I went, "Oh my goodness." She gave me a big hug and she said, "Well, how is it, dear boy?" And I said, "He's fine." And we chatted for a while. And it was before my time that she was married to him. And then my dad married someone else, and then he married my mother. And that lasted until he passed away.
Oh, Miss Carroll, I want to show Mr. Gordon how much you've just taught me.
No, never mind.
Oh, thank you very much. That's very sweet of you.
Please.
I'm very anxious for Mr. Gordon to see this because I think it's the most interesting experiment. Now, how did you say that last step went? Oh, yes. Shall we try it right through? Won't you sit down, Mr. Gordon?
What was your father's name?
Jack Pepper.
Jack Pepper. And did he make many movies also?
He made movies, actually. He was real good friends with Bob Hope and Bing Crosby, Jackie Gleason, all those old guys. And if you see him in some like Cat Ballou and different things.
Cat Ballou.
You get a gunfighter.
Then there came to town a gun deadly and frightening, a gun quicker than lightning, fastest gun you've seen. It was the gun in the hand of Steel-Eyed Kid Shirley.
How did you get started in the movie industry?
In the movie?
Yeah.
I went to, after I graduated from Hollywood High, I was lucky enough, my dad's agent took me on, and I had a couple of lines in here and there. And then I was fortunate to get what they call a running part, 11 episodes on a show called My Three Sons. I played the neighbors next door. I don't know. It's very popular in the States. And from then I auditioned and I got my show Margie. And then I got part with Elvis. And then I did other Addams Family. I don't know if you got Perry Mason,
yeah.
Wagon Train, a lot of the others, and Sally Field, Flying Nun. People ask me, how did I get the part Midge? Well, it was a Friday. I'll never forget it. My agent called me and said, "Are you sitting down?" And I said, "Well, I will." He said, "Well, I have news for you." And I said, "What?" He said, "Elvis saw you on something," because he watched a lot of TV. And he said, so he told his guys that you might be right for this part in Kissin Cousins, Midge Riley. He said, so you get to MGM Studios. We lived about 20 minutes away. Go to the wardrobe department, and if you can wear the uniform, fit into the uniform, then you're co-starring with Elvis on Monday. That's how it happened.
It was fast.
It was fast. Usually you audition and read, and you have callbacks, and it could take weeks. And this was fast.
Yeah. How was your first meeting with Elvis?
My first meeting, it was wonderful. I was very nervous at first, and he had roses in the dressing room. Red roses, a dozen roses, and it said, "To Cynthia, love Elvis Presley." And I thought, oh, he's got a crush on me. No, I don't think he did. I don't know, but he did that with all his leading ladies. He had roses. So I remember very clearly going down the stairs, and there was, I think it was the assistant director, and Elvis standing there, and he said, "Elvis, this is Cynthia Pepper. She's playing Midge Riley." And I went to shake his hand, and he said, "Don't give me an old hand, honey. Just give me a big old hug." And that's how he was. That's how he made me feel comfortable. And of course, I was fully aware of who he was. But after that, I had to be professional. But I always say if I could do it over now, I could do it much better. I was young, but it changed my life. And at the time, when you're living something, you don't really fully appreciate it usually. And now I really appreciate the opportunity, to have known him. I mean, I think I'm one of not many people who could say that, and I just feel honored to be in that party of people who knew him and worked with him.
How was he as a person in your eyes?
Oh,
Elvis?
He was just very easy to talk to, very down to earth, very country boy. Loved to laugh, had a good time. I always say the star of any show, TV or movie, sets the tone for the set, and he set the tone, and the tone was having a good time, enjoying what we're doing, and we did that. It went by so fast. It was only about 2.5 weeks, but I think most of his movies didn't take very long.
Was he good in remembering his lines, and was he prepared when he came to the set?
He seemed to know your lines, my lines, and everyone else's lines, and his own lines. And that's the way he was very professional when it came down to shooting. That was, professional. But he'd joke around in between and everything.
Was he good in remembering the lines also, so he could actually...
Well, what happens is you don't learn the whole script. You just learn what you're saying the next day. You get what they call a call sheet, and then you get your time, and then you have what scenes you're going to shoot. And then you usually remember those. It's not like a play where you have to learn them all. Now, maybe he did, but mostly you just learn what the next day's work.
I love you right from the start, and with each kiss I'll keep revealing the tender feeling in my heart.
Totally works.
Was Elvis a good kisser in the movies then?
Yeah, of course. Ladies.
Not of course.
Well,
just because he's good looking, you don't need to be a good kisser.
No, that's true. He was a good kisser, though. It followed he was so beautiful. Really, he was a beautiful man to look at, and I always tell people, well, he had the heart to go with it. There's a lot of beautiful people in the world, but if they don't have anything backing it up, it's nothing really. But he was a good kisser. In those days, they kissed nicely, They kissed on the lips, but it wasn't like they do today. But it was a long kiss, and I was smart enough to mess it up so I could keep doing it.
Yeah, that was my next question.
Yeah, can I do it again? Because the light wasn't quite right a couple of times.
Was Elvis, when he made these movies, was he more like he was actually living into them, living into the role, so the role was maybe him just saying the things that he needed to do and kissing the way he kissed and things like that? It was not like it was a role he...
No, he didn't have to stretch, as they say, as an actor, but he had that in him. I've been asked, what do you think he was a good actor? And I said, well, I think he had it in him. The movies didn't really show that he could do some real meaty parts. Maybe in a few movies show that. And but they had a formula that made a lot of money, and people loved it the way it was, so they kept it as they knew a good thing when they saw it. But he really had it in him to really... I think if he were alive today, my own opinion is that he probably would be maybe recording gospel and doing parts like Clint Eastwood, the elder statesman.
Yeah, we're all cousins, that's what I believe, because we're children of Adam and Eve. I got a gal and she wants a lot of love. That's the kind of trouble I need plenty of. We'll kiss all night, I'll squeeze her tight. We'll be kissing cousins and that'll make it all right.
Can you remember any funny things happening while you were shooting this movie with Elvis? Is there some funny story you would like to tell from it?
Just well, a practical joke he pulled on me. I had to toss him over my shoulder like a karate, and in the movie it's so fast you hardly notice it. But I flip him over, and so we were rehearsing at one time alone in another part of the sound stage, and so I flipped him, and he went on his back, and I thought he hit his head, and I thought he was out cold. And I thought, oh my God, I've killed Elvis Presley. I'm going to have to go into witness protection or something because he's gone. Gone. And I said, Elvis, Elvis, and he wouldn't answer. I went, oh my gosh. Seemed forever. It was probably a minute. And finally he opened his eyes. He's like, got you, little one. And I couldn't get him back anyway. And he didn't want you to get him back. He just wanted to get you. And I said, oh, I'm going to get you for that. He laughed. That was funny to him. And that was one of the things he pulled on me. But mostly I think the guys had their, fun times together, pulling tricks on each other.
Was Priscilla Presley around when you filmed this movie?
No.
Or he was there alone with the friends?
He was there. Colonel was there a couple of times.
Did you like Colonel Tom Parker?
Yeah, I have no opinion really. I know Elvis was very gentlemanly, and he would offer his seat. They have director's chair with his name on it. And if I saw a lady standing, I saw him many times say, ma'am, would you care to sit? And I just thought that was very nice. I didn't have any doings with Colonel Parker.
When you make a movie like this, do you then go home after the shooting and then you see each other again next day, or do you hang out and go to a bar and drink?
I didn't do that, but I did keep in touch with him. We did keep in touch after the movie by phone and saying, I'll see you in Vegas, Elvis, and we chatted a while, became friendly. And then the only regret I have about that whole situation is that I never took the time to go to Vegas to see him. I went about my business. I was still working. And I thought, well, there's plenty of time, and you never know, there's not. So the moral of it, do what you want to do today because you would not promise tomorrow. And then he was gone, and I never did get to see him in concert. But he sang to me in the film, so,
yeah.
And then when you do that in the film, you stop and go, so, and he would actually sing on the set with the soundtrack so that it would look like he was singing. And because I've been asked that too, did he really sing? And I said, well, he sang to a soundtrack so that it would look real.
But you also played with other big stars than Elvis in your career.
Yes.
You played with Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart, Sandra Dee, Vincent Price, Sandra Bullock.
FBI agent Gracie Hart was trained to handle any situation.
You know you can't wear a swimsuit on this mission, right, Hart?
Mainly a lot of television people. I don't know if you know.
I know Sandra Bullock and I know Jimmy Stewart.
You know Jimmy Stewart. Do you know Sandra Dee? Married to Bobby Darin?
Yeah.
At one point?
Yeah, I know her then.
Yeah, she played his daughter in the movie I was in, and I played her roommate. And it was called Take Her, She's Mine. And it was Jimmy Stewart and Audrey Meadows, who used to be Jackie Gleason's wife on The Honeymooners. And then Sally Field in The Flying Nun. A lot of television I did. A lot of TV. Carolyn Jones in the Addams Family. It's a strange thing because in my book there's a thread of Elvis. It's not a thread, but it's Elvis connection. It goes through my whole life almost by accident. When I did Addams Family, I played the neighbors next door and a husband, newlyweds, and we were invited for dinner. And all I want to do is I don't want to go in that horrible place, da-da-da-da. And so we were invited for dinner, and Carolyn Jones was Morticia, and John Astin was Gomez. Carolyn Jones was in, I think, 2 movies, big movies, Jailhouse Rock, and I can't think of the other one right now, with Elvis. And the guy who played my husband, Peter Brooks, he was in 2 movies with Elvis. But we never spoke of it. We never realized. So there's that connection right there. I had a good time with that. I worked with some real nice people. One of the nicest, other than Elvis, is Vincent Price. You know, the scary guy. He was the sweetest man in the world. Shows what type, you know, how he could pull it off to be diabolic, you know. He was very, very nice.
How was it to play with Jimmy Stewart?
Jimmy Stewart was good. I have a story in my book about it. I didn't really get to know him very well, but he was an icon, you know. And then I did we had a TV show after that, and so I did one segment, and that's where I met Vincent Price. And he was very, very nice. I have a story where he got a little upset with me because I didn't come through the door fast enough. When you go through a door, when they're shooting a scene on the other side of the door, and the camera's there, and that's what we were doing, took place in college, and I'm standing outside waiting for my cue, there's a light that goes on that shows to come through the door and do your thing. The light didn't go on because you can't hear the dialogue. And he got very upset. He said, "Where's that girl?" And I went, "Oh," I was so embarrassed. And it wasn't personal, but I thought, that was terrible. I felt so bad. Everyone's looking at, they thought I had made a mistake, but the light didn't go on. So I was a little upset with that. And then after a while, he said, "I'm sorry about that," you know. But he was an icon, you know. He's a big star, tall and thin. Yeah. He's a wall. He still talks like that.
And he had this sometimes.
A wall, yeah, something like that.
Oh, I love his movies.
Yeah.
By the way, Professor, what time am I due there?
Well, the ladies said they'd be here to get you.
Oh, I'm absolutely fascinated about meeting you, Mr. Price. My name is Agatha Dwiggins. I'm co-chairwoman of the Easy Valley Festival of Arts, Entertainment, and Welcoming Committee.
Mrs. Dwiggins.
And this is Fanny Silverman, my co-chairwoman, and our committee, Harriet Kloof.
Mrs. Silverman. Mrs. Kloof.
Harriet's not married.
Miss Kloof.
Oh, she's a minister.
Reverend Kloof.
We just have a lovely lunch.
Yeah.
If you look away from the Elvis movie, you say that was maybe one of the most important for you. But what was the most important, if you should point out some roles that you think, okay, this was something that meant something
Margie.
Special for my career?
I would say Elvis and Margie. I had my TV series on ABC network in the States, and I don't know if you have ABC around the world, but like NBC, ABC. And I played a high school girl in the Roaring 20s, which I love the 20s. Somehow, and it was my own show, and I had auditioned. There were 200 girls that auditioned, and so I got the part. And I was told by producers years later, I said, "Why did you pick me?" He says, "Because you weren't that pretty." I said, "Well, thanks loads." I said, "That's nice," but he said, "Yeah, but you got the part. You're under contract," and I think, well, you know, I laugh now, but at the time it was like, "Oh, that's not nice," but. I played a plain girl who was always, it was so innocent in those days, you know, with the vodo-de-odo and the pigtails and the flapper outfit, and she was naive and sweet, and the girl next door. And I think that's what he meant. I hope that's what he meant, the producers. And that was I had my own show.
That's big.
That was big. That was big.
And I guess that was millions of people viewing things like that.
Yeah, I was on the cover of TV Guide, which we have in the States, which was big at the time. I had interviews and first class. You know, I did that for a year, and then they put it on another time slot, another day for the second season. And I've got all my shows, but it'll never be on television. You know how they have reruns, because we did 26 episodes, and you have to do so many episodes to be on television now. But some people still remember. You had to be there, be born, to know about it.
Excuse me. Is this seat taken?
No. Only where I'm sitting. I mean, it's empty.
Do you mind if I sit down?
Why?
Well, I thought that since we both go to the same high school, we should get to know one another.
Are you sure you got the right booth?
You're Clarence Hubbard, aren't you?
I'm afraid so. But I didn't know you knew my name.
Oh, yes. I noticed you in chemistry.
Oh?
You're awfully good with a Bunsen burner, aren't you?
Thank you.
How was that fame you got there? Because being on the television every week for people, then everybody will recognize you no matter where you go, almost, right?
They do. You're eating dinner and they'll.
Do you like it?
Well, of course I liked it, but being raised in that business, it didn't go to my head. I never thought I was any better than anyone else. I just had a career that I liked, maybe paid a little better, but it wasn't any better. And my friends were still my friends who were out of the business, my school friends, and they still are today. So I was doing a job. I mean, to tell the truth, I would have paid them to do it, but I didn't tell them that. I was young. I was 20 and had my 21st birthday on Margie, playing 17. And it was a lot of responsibility, but that's what I wanted. That's what I worked for. But I didn't think, I wasn't a diva or anything like that. Never have been. And I don't like people who are. So I just remember one thing, though, a funny thing. I was had my 21st birthday on the set. And here I'm in this, we had a lot of children come on the set because they liked Margie. We geared it towards young girls, basically. And I was coming down the stairs doing a scene, and I tripped. And as I tripped, I said a naughty word. And the camera was going on. It just came out, and it wasn't a real bad word, but it was a bad word. And the little kids with eyes went, Margie swore. And I went, oh my gosh. Well, they put that every, Friday nights we would have takeouts, outtakes. And so they would play that. I went, oh my, I'll never live that down. And here I'm supposed to be all sweet and light, and here and it just came out. And I'll never forget that. That was good. That was funny. But it was a whole different thing with fame. I mean, you could, they, oh, hi, can I have your autograph? And it was this, and like I said, first class all the way. I had that, so I'm very happy I had that, I don't miss it. I'm still having a great time now. Great time. I'm in my almost middle 70s, and I'm having a good time, I'm with someone I love. I have my animals, my son, so I'm happy. My friends.
All night, I squeeze her tight. We'll be kissing cousins, and they'll make it all right. We'll be kissing cousins.